Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. We have a spicy one for you here. 12 post versus Ruby Storm. 12 post not going to have a whole lot to say about whatever Storm's trying to do. Can potentially crop rotate for a Bajuka Bog. Stop the Past and Flame lines. But overall, maybe a race Kozilek found off of Once Upon a Time. That is not typically where you want to be. See how quickly 12 post can manage to cast the Eldrazi Titan. And fetching out a basic forest for an expedition map. Lotus Petal. And a not very explosive first turn here. The forest doesn't necessarily inspire you to go pedal to the metal. Enzai Diamond. Some Storm coming out. Burning Wish. Will likely grab an Echo. And LED. Sacrificed. Everyone's going to be resetting here. 7 cards in hand. This could certainly backfire. That's one of the fun things about Ruby Storm. I mean, draw 7 decks, usually they're very well positioned to take advantage of 7 new cards, often chaining draw 7s together to draw just a massive amount of cards over the course of a turn. But sometimes it goes sideways and you give your opponent a great 7. Very different than the deterministic lines or things like Ad Nauseam, where it's totally one-sided. Also means that the deck runs Defense Grid. Try and protect the combo. Of course, here, not as concerned about that in all likelihood. Ruby Medallion. Now Jessica's Will. Just so happens that Steve has 7 cards in hand thanks to the draw 7. Allowing 7 mana with the Jessica's Will. Wow. This is going to be absolutely insane. So able to play all 3 of these cards. Every card in the deck just gets so ridiculous with a Ruby Medallion on board. Seething Song becomes a ball ritual. Bergie also incredibly strong in the deck. A little better than making it cost 1 less because it makes cards like Rite of Flame more useful. And continuing to dig, still doesn't have it. Now an Echo, but a bunch of mana floating, 2 Lotus Petals on board, 2 Ruby Medallions. Now we've got Bergie as the Horn with a full grip. Should be able to make something happen here. Discarding to exile 2. Casting Bergie. And there's the Burning Wish. And now things are completely out of hand. Like this is... The win is in hand. Or exiled, I should say, with the Horn. That's going to be able to absolutely make this work. Manamorphose, Seething Song, tons of extra mana. Every card, costing 2 less and adding a red. All of these red cards. Now, finally, be able to finish things off with a Tendrils of Agony. Might have actually been able to win with a Grape Shot there. Play around Veil of Summer. Card that could conceivably be in a mono-green deck, though I don't believe Cloudpost typically main decking that card. Ruby Storm plays an awful lot of cards there. What it's looking to do. Steve's going to have the play. Certainly helpful. Ruby Storm not having the play is really what it's more about. Not that 12 post is that much better when it's going first, but Ruby Storm can literally kill you before you get a turn. Bergie facing off against this Elvish Reclaimer. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Caracas just bouncing the legendary creature. Oh, interesting. I am not sure what I just saw there. So it looks like a pithing needle came down, aiming. Yeah, I mean, it's a creature. I would understand if it was the horn. Jessica's will. Yeah, I think that's just an error there from Steve. Bergie doesn't have any activated abilities that Pithing Needle would be shutting down. So I'm guessing he named the horn. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. After seeing the work that it did, have been the reason for that, though. Not sure that that's better than bouncing Bergie with Caracas. Or even keeping the mana open for the Elvish Reclaimer, which can fetch a Bajuka Bog if need be to shut down graveyard lines, or start the accumulation of cloud posts. Those locusts really key actually casting those massive Eldrazi Titan. Forge the Soul. Yeah, I like the Caracas line. I like bouncing Bergie. And I also like the fact that you can bounce it in response to a draw 7. Effectively eliminate it. Getting very crazy here. 2 medallions. Jessica's will. A bunch of value there. Is that enough? Doesn't have the double black. Rite of Flame, much, much better with Bergie on board. The card's totally fine with Bergie. Generally, I'm unimpressed with the card, but there, it's very strong. Now, Past in Flames. Nice endurance. Just blowing out this Past in Flames line. Now, I'm not sure if he let the... I guess you do it in response to the Past in Flames, which is fine. Depending on the contents of the graveyard and the mana pool, you could potentially let the Past in Flames resolve to get rid of it. And now a crop rotation, getting rid of the Caracas. Or a Cloud Post. A Matt with a incredibly dangerous board. Bergie, double Ruby Medallion, a whole bunch of mana. Without the goods to make anything else happen. But we think top of the deck absolutely changed that. Other Pithing Needle. Perhaps naming the hammer or horn again. During the end step, cracking. Getting another Cloud Post. These now tapping for a total of 9. Another Cloud Post in hand will allow tapping for 12. Elvish Reclaimer. Now, this should be it. Emrakul cast with just 4 lands. Tap 4 lands, Emrakul. GG. Extra turn, Annihilator 6. That is what 12 Post is looking to do. It's a very, very fun deck. Be able to cast those giant Eldrazi Titans. And Endurance made it all possible. Stealing what would have been a win for Matt right away from him thanks to Endurance. Of course, those Pass and Flame lines, very suspect when you've got your Elvish Reclaimers anyways. If your opponent is tapping off of them, is a pretty significant error if they don't have the Endurance. Be able to continue keeping an eye on the graveyard. Elvish Reclaimer is a heck of a Magic card. Actually, one of the few cards that I've spec'd on in the last few years. I mean, it's a strong word to call it spec. I just bought, like 40 of them from a few of the different vendors that I deal with. They were like $1 or something ridiculous. They were so inexpensive. But it was a card that my customers were asking for, so I just grabbed them just to have them, and they just so happened to have gone to the moon. So, speccing's a little strong. It's not like I bought 1,000 of them, tossed them in a shoebox, safe somewhere. I mean, this was active inventory. There are occasionally cards that I just don't have in stock for people. Right now, that's like Wasteland, Ragavan, Murktide Regent, Schadenport. There's a handful of cards that I've just sold so many of recently that I'm actually out of. Really got to get a hot list going. On the play, able to get out Chrome Mox, Lion's Eye Diamond, and spin the wheel with Echo of Aeons thanks to Burning Wish. Got some Storm. At the very least, Matt is up a couple of mana sources. Kind of a Ancestral Recall. And also, versus a deck like 12 Post, a random 7 can be pretty terrible. A lot of the times when you're talking about decks that rely on synergies, don't have access to that mulligan, kind of throw back hands that don't really work. Devastating. Now we've got another Echo. Mercifully, those Lion's Eye Diamonds continue to get shuffled back in. However, the Echoes don't. End up getting exiled. So far, 2 Echoes down. 1 from the main deck, 1 from the sideboard. Chrome Mox going up to Storm 7. Rite of Flame. And Jessica's Will going up to 7 mana for a Reforge the Soul, so 2 red floating. Wow, and another Echo in the bin. Lion's Eye Diamond to go along with it. This is incredibly dangerous. Oh, too much. Brutal, cracking Lion's Eye Diamond. Steve drawing hand after hand. Finally ends up with a hand that has a Mindbreak Trap in it and is happy to hit that the Echo of Aeons. After, of course, Matt has dumped his entire hand, so Matt just has 3 mana. Oh, and it's a miracle off the top. Are you kidding me? Reforge the Soul for its miracle cost after Steve had managed to Mindbreak Trap to break up an incredibly dangerous turn. And Matt is just like that, right back in the game. From 0 cards up to 7. Endurance. Showing up. Neutering this Rite of Flame a little bit. Adding to the storm count, perhaps. In a negative way. 4 red mana here for Matt. Seething Song. Brings it up to 6. Got the Horn. And Amorphos. Very strong with Bergie out. Very strong with the Horn. Anything that gets extra cards into hand. But that is a dead end. Now a defense grid shows up. Matt is not out of this. He's got a defense grid to potentially stop any pesky counters that Steve might have. His Horn is going to make anything that he draws potentially live. Wow. Looks like he pitched Jessica's Will. I am surprised by that. Now Burning Wish. Galvanic Relay. Trying to set up decent follow-up turn here, but scary as those 2 cards might be, I kind of feel like Steve would be in good shape, but no, Glacial Chasm. I do not love that line. Glacial Chasm setting him back doesn't actually save you from tendrils. Glacial Chasm prevents damage, not life loss. I am not a fan of that. We got Bergie. Cards are in exile right now, thanks to the Horn. Mind's Eye Diamond. Sacrificed. Grabbing Past in Flames. Now Past in Flames looking to replay from the graveyard. Both Rite of Flames. Seething Song. This is going to be a lot of spells. Jessica's Will. Looks like a Shenanigans. Yeah, Shenanigans, Lotus Petal. Not a particularly good Jessica's Will. This Manamorphose very strong. Filter mana. Allowing for an eventual Tendrils, perhaps. That continues to dig. Couple of Lion's Eye Diamonds. Manamorphose. If it doesn't get what he needs, he can discard it. And he's just digging. Seen so much this game. He flashing back Past in Flames? Okay, so flashing back Past in Flames, keeping the different graveyards straight. Past in Flames only grants flashback to the cards in the graveyard at the time that it's cast. You end up kind of having multiple graveyards to an extent. Technically only one graveyard, but it is useful to kind of keep them separate piles, formats that allow for that. Finally, the Burning Wish shows up, grabbing a Tendrils, putting an end to an incredibly complicated turn. But Matt eventually getting there with Ruby Storm, despite getting Mindbreak trapped.